evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Bharat Connect's next panel discussion. The topic today is going to be your call is important to us. Please stay on the line while we transfer you. So I'm sure like many of you have heard this like sentence while you are waiting for any of the your transaction with the banks or any of your different entities and so we want to see why this is happening and how companies are trying to handle the situation to avoid this or minimize this and what is that they are doing, what is that we can expect, right? So that's going to be the topic today. And we all know there are a lot of challenges that have been put on to us with the pandemic, especially change the landscape of the work environment, where we work from, how we access the work and how we interact with each other, a lot of different challenges and different mindset have set up in employees and employers, and as a customer, so all we have all gone through a lot of different changes, right? So but still as a human, right, when you are having a problem, when you're trying to reach somebody and when you get this message, how do you feel? Like it's not that a comfort feeling that still waiting to talk to somebody, right? So let's dig in deep. We have a good panelist here with us to share their experience and show us what they are where they see this is going and how they are able to handle the situation and everything. So we have three panelists today. So we are still waiting for one of the panelists to join, but otherwise I'll introduce two of them and we'll get this started. And when Deepu joins us, we'll include him also in the panel discussion. So let me introduce Rinoo Rajesh. So he is coming from lot of experience in the contact center, right? So he has worked on different functions like a business development, marketing, communication, and digital business transformation. So all kinds. So he is actively involved in ITES, telecom, and contact center. So he had stints with Avaya, Tata BSS, Nortel, so a lot of heavy big names over 22 years. So so I'm sure he has a lot of ideas and thought process to share with us. So we thank you very much for joining us, Rinoo, and please welcome to our panel discussion today.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Yeah. So the next person I'm introducing is Harshdeep Singh Grewal. So he is entrepreneurial orientation. He has a entrepreneurial orientation combined with people management and problem solving skills, right? So I got a chance to meet him in person a couple of weeks, shared a lot of different viewpoints and everything. So very interesting to talk to him. And so we thought it would be very unique experience for our audiences also to hear back from him, because he has once again over 2 decades of experience in the BPO, aviation, ITES, retail segment, and multicultural and multinational setups, right, in India and the US. So that's kind of a unique. So his expertise includes operations, quality management systems, ISO 9001, process mapping, improvement, training, service quality, auditing, and data analysis, and enhancing customer experiences. So that should be good, to give us some insights. And he's currently head of customer engagement at Mahindra Integrated Business Solutions. So and recently has been awarded a customer-centric leader for 2022. So Harshdeep, thank you so much, sir, being with us, and we want to welcome you to our panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Uthaman, for the intro, and pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks. So let's jump into the the discussion. Your call is important to us. Please stay on the line while we transfer you, right? So we will take as a your personal experiences from both of you, Harshdeep and Rinoo. So what does this mean to you? Like, when you hear the voice, your call is important to us. Please stay online while we transfer you as a customer side, and also you are being the enabler and a contact center experience for many of the organizations right behind you. So on both sides, like, what is your, what does this mean to you?
So it's an not so optimal experience. Imagine you are walking into a restaurant and somebody tells you to wait. You get disappointed. You probably are able to wait if you like the food too much or you like the restaurant too much. But normally, if you had a choice, you would go to somebody else. Now imagine this happening with your brand online. And in today's world, customer loyalties switch very fast. Product differentiation is not really there too much. Take satellite television. Everybody has the same bouquet of channels. And real differentiator that you have is the experience that you delivered during service. It's not that you have sold the product. It's the experience delivered by the product during the lifetime relationship.
Exactly.
And if you're making somebody wait, there is chance that they will decide that the other guy who's providing a better experience is a better bet to put your dollars or put your rupees there. So from a brand perspective, this is not so optimal experience that they want to deliver. And these experiences can be designed, engineered. It's a matter of how much volume you are having in equivalent to a digital footfall or an online footfall, and the people that you have to service them. And if you don't do this, there is a great brand reputational issue. On the other hand, because I've been on the service provider side as well,
Yeah.
nobody wants to do this, but they end up having this. And fortunately, in the last 5 years or 10 years, a lot of technologies have emerged to reduce the impact of this. But in a nutshell, this is an experience best avoided.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very well said. Because gone the days, right? Your sales is done once you shake hand with the customer and take your check, right? It's just not true anymore, right? We are like most of the products and services are moving into as a service, which means there is no one-time sale, right? It's you are always customer has a choice, which means so you have to be on the positive side throughout the life cycle. So there is, yeah. So let's hear back from Harshdeep. What's your experience?
Yeah, so I think, like Rinoo said rightly, right? We've been on either sides. I think the statement in itself that your call is important to us and, allow us to transfer or we'll come back to you as soon as possible. I think eventually earlier times, I think maybe 5 years or 10 years ago was an acceptable line to hear before you wanted to speak to somebody. But I think a lot has evolved in terms of technology and like we were discussing some time back, the nature of the customer in itself has changed, right? People don't have that amount of patience anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So unless you're the only person in that desert with water, or you're the best in class, and this is just probably a difficult time for you. I think customer would rather choose somebody else than come to you.
Absolutely.
Right? The idea is, I think, to figure out. I think from a service provider side, this is always stressful to see something in the queue and not getting answered. At the same time, being on the customer side, equally frustrating not being able to get your answers. Right? So it depends on what choices businesses make today, understanding what their customers want, how their customers react to what sort of mediums or channels that are made available to them. What sort of service do they prefer? Do they prefer to speak to somebody, or they don't prefer to speak to somebody at all? right? It's all about choosing the right mix. Knowing your customer, I think, first is very important. Secondly, also knowing, probably what he's going to call you for or reach out to you for is the area that, we must research and we must be on top throughout.
On top. Yeah.
And the goal should be, I think, to, at minimal for him to come back to us to probably buy something more that we were selling, or referring somebody is the probably most welcome customer today.
Yeah.
Right? But if
Yeah.
the customer has to come back to you again and again, I think time's going to be challenging for the organization or the business as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, very good points, right? Because coming back again and again, like, not necessarily like a lot of work, or like, you should not be looking at that way. There may be opportunity to sell some other product or additional services, or like, your partner solutions, like, so there is a lot of different ways to look at it, right? So so that way it's a win-win, right? Customers are happy. Hey, I called with some problem, I got a solution. And then here, like, we have some additional revenue, like, through one of our other products or platform, or like, through partner solution. So it's like, so, and also the most important thing, like you pointed out, is to being able to predict or like analyze what kind of problems they are calling with, right? That's going to be the critical, because if you are able to identify that, like, you know where to put, like, more emphasis on, or like, how to help, like, in that particular regard. So when customer calls, like, so you can give some automatic solution for them to be able to resolve, or you can proactively send some communication to them, like, this is what is happening, and like, so be aware of this, or like, this is a situation, like, so explaining that, right? So I'll give you an example. Like, we had an outage from one of our broadband provider. It's just a broadband, okay? It's not even a lease line, right? So we have a lease line, and then we have a backup as a broadband. So this broadband provider calls us on a Saturday morning. He calls us saying, "Sir, we are going to have an outage later today, because there's going to be some fiber cut, and so you're going to experience like at least a 2-hour outage on like a Saturday evening, going into Sunday." So like, we appreciated like, that call very much, right? Because just knowing that is going to happen, and he took a pain of like, calling all his customers and letting them know this is going to happen in that area, please be aware, like, so that is comforting, because like, we don't want to know from some of our customers who are after being impacted calling us with a problem. Now we know that we can take some action, right? Or we can inform our customers, hey, there is going to be a maintenance at that time, like, so due to like, unavoidable reasons. So if you experience something, please be aware. So just imagine how much difference this is going to make, right? So instead of, this is a pain area, and we turn that pain area into one of our strong selling point, right? Now customer remembers us. If there is a problem, he won't let us down, right? It's not that we are not going to have a problem ever. That is not the point, right? So at least he cares. That's like, more important. That resonates very well with what Rinoo said also. You are not selling one time, you are selling all the time, right? So this is one way of making that connection with your customer, because today I guess that is all matters for all the brands, like, so how well the customer perceives us as a brand, like, and what value they are getting from us. So that's good point. So like, with that, let's like, that nicely flowing into the second discussion point here. So since like, Deepu is not here, so I would like, recommend both of you can like, share your thought points on all the discussion points, right? Like, it's okay. So the analogy, like, I will give you an analogy. You walk into a theater, the way in which they welcome you, the ambience and the entrance are so welcoming. You cannot say the same thing about the exit route. It would be dingy with more floors to climb down than when you came up. This is not a consistent customer experience. Similarly, most customers feel shortchanged by organizations when it comes to customer experiences, how do you think the brand should address this disparity?
Well, I'll take another example.
Yeah.
You took a very nice example of a theater. The exit is bad, dingy. Entrance is all, jazzy. In
Yeah.
service industry, this is retention. Now, you don't put retention with a very bad experience. That's not going to retain the customer. In fact, it's going to strengthen their resolve to go out.
Go out. Yeah.
But if you line up the exit, I mean, customer for whatever reason has decided to exit, you still have a potential to retain. And that is the moment of truth where your brand image and your image of your advisors and the way they handle the exit can make the customer rethink that, am I taking the right decision? Maybe I took a decision in haste. Maybe that was one bad experience which made me choose a different path. So in my view, that is the most toughest of the part. And being on the service provider side, we know how tough it is during that phase. And a lot of effort has to be put, and we design experiences that way. Our retention processes are designed in such a manner that you give, while you honor the customer's request if they have decided to go out, but give them a stellar experience and try to retain as much as possible. It's not a pitch saying, please stay. It's a pitch, what you're losing if you go out. And that is one of the other experiences. And speaking of, you took a theater example again. I've seen this happening even in retail. Customer experience, it's being taken to the center stage, even in retail store. Video analytics solutions, I'm aware of a few partners of ours who are deploying video analytics solutions just to measure what is the experience being delivered when a customer enters the store. Did somebody attend? It's akin to you coming up and then you getting that message, your call is important. Same thing, they're measuring even at the branch level, even at the store level. So both ends are absolutely important.
Yeah.
Especially so the exit part.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, Harshdeep.
Yeah, picking up, I think, from where Rinoo is saying. So again, two aspects. I'll discuss the first one first, right? So considering it's not that bad that you have to get into a retention stage to a customer.
Yeah.
But if, for example, you brought him in, right, with, you could say, lavish red carpet entry, etc., and now he's moving out, and he's not satisfied with what you've probably given him. Yeah, a couple of thoughts. I mean, is very simple, vanilla, is to say he didn't get what he wanted, or he expected X and we couldn't give X plus or X raised to the power, whatever, right? So I think it all depends on how you bounce back with when somebody's, come to you. Like we spoke, I mean, different businesses, different scenarios, right? Certain businesses, if the customer has to come to you again and again, it's considered bad omen. Certain businesses where he's coming to you to buy something else, great to have him back, right? When he's coming back to buy stuff from you, I think welcomed by every business today's stage. But if he's coming back to you with the same stuff that you probably sold to him a while back, and he has more queries, or he has to come back to you, I think we fall short of probably as simple as probably customer education, right? That is, there are some things that should be DIY for him which he doesn't probably know, or he's unclear about probably some features that you gave him, or he doesn't know usability or the challenges up front, areas where your products fit best, and they probably are using it in different environments. It all depends. It's a mix of everything, right? What at the crux of all of this, I think, is setting expectations, and the right ones, of course, right?
Yeah.
Everything has to be pretty clear to a customer as to what he's getting into, right? Gone are the days when I think terminology is 20 years ago, where a sales guy could probably, we used to say slamming a sale, right? Is when you read what's in the fine print with pretty low tone and something that's going to be, unique to a customer, you'll be pretty clear and, out loud, crystal clear.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that that's maintained, right? And on the retention end, I think, yeah, of course, I think what's important is, whoever is handling this customer, right, needs to have authority or that comfort and that access to system and information, so that we could first figure out why he got to that stage, right? Secondly, what can be done to fix this,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? And we also need to be at the same time aware as to what we are offering and what's available out in the market to the customer, right? So that our benefits can be clearly spoken out and I think picked up from that end. I think customer more so in every scenario. I don't think any customer wants to make a bad product. Any organization wants to make a bad product or any business wants to sell something incorrectly. It's communication at its core. I think that we need to set it right with, again, I would say what channel, what mode the customer understands, real life use case scenarios. I think that's something we all need to focus and probably keep it up there so that, customer is not caught off guard, I think.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Very well said. So, empowering the agents, right, and giving them all the information and the right tools, can go a long way, in taking care of majority of the situation, right? So, one another example coming to my mind is during one of our panel discussion earlier, one of the panelists has shared this experience actually. So, he is usually a traveler, he travels back to Delhi for a lot of different meetings. So he works from Mumbai, but he traveled back to Delhi. So he knows a place where he stays. And he uses online portal to book the rooms. So one time he booked and then he went and checked in. Upon entering the room, he didn't feel all right. He felt like it's not the right room and he just cannot stay there for another 2 nights there. So he called again the same number where he booked, and the first agent told him, sorry, you booked a non-refundable rate, so there's not much you can do. But he said, no, I am a customer, let me talk to your manager. So he ended up talking to another gentleman who understood the situation very well. And so he said, okay, so sorry, sir, what happened? And so he took the situation in his own hand. And then he said, okay, let me look for another room, another hotel nearby. And I'll help you check in there. So he looked while he was waiting online, same street had a different hotel. He found a room. He waited online till customer walked into that hotel and walked into his room, and he said, okay, I'm happy with, I can stay here. So, and then he thanked him for being customer, because this agent later revealed why this happened was so he was able to see the history. This particular customer have been using their portal for many years, and probably he stayed there 450 nights or something with them. So before that stay. So he when he sees that information and he takes this kind of action, I don't think management is going to question him, why did you do that, right? They shouldn't, right? They should be happy in what he did, right? Empowering the agent to make that decision and make the customer happy, because if he is talking about that experience with us, that tells us he's going to use that same portal for many more years to come, right? So one bad experience, not due to their platform or anything, it is through one of their partners, and that also it is not under their control. So they took that disadvantage and then turned into selling opportunity, right? Every time so keeping up with the customer and meeting their expectations. So that's a I thought it's a very good way of running the customer support, right? Empowering the agents, being the front face of our organization, they have to have the right information and the power to do such things. So
In fact, this is a very good example of a service recovery. See, especially important for businesses which are aggregators.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially
It's
yes.
not their product,
Yeah,
but the reason why customer comes to them is because of the experience. The
experience.
individual product can turn out to be not so optimal, not so good, not up to the expectation of the customer. But there are several concepts here that you have very nicely explained. One is obviously customer is yours, product is somebody else's.
Yes.
But how do you manage experience that the customer keeps coming back to you?
Yeah.
One. Two, truly these customer 360, right? You need to take holistic view of the customer. It's not at transactional level.
Yeah.
It's not like you're in a retail and that's a one-off transaction. You don't know your customer enough.
Mhm.
By the way, even those D2C brands have started knowing their customer. Every time, for example, every time you go up to KFC, you'll ask your phone number. They want to know how much repeat business they are getting from you. So
Yeah.
everybody wants to know their customer, and this is the holy grail in the customer experience business.
Yeah.
Know that customer and how effectively it can be used, and how it can empower the frontline staff to take small decisions. Probably this was not a very big decision on somebody's part to they could have just said, look, it's a hotel, you chose that, I didn't choose it for you,
Yeah.
but your experience turned out to be bad.
Yeah.
Now if that kind of answer is given, I'm never going back to that same portal.
Yeah.
Because I have the power of choice. I can go to another portal which gives me the same product, probably at some differential pricing. But this incident that you described has not only done a service recovery, it has turned me into an advocate.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is what matters.
Yeah. After all, our front facing, right, our agents, they should be our brand ambassadors, right? Forget about the ambassadors that we have on our advertisement, right? So who comes and endorse our product, right? That's one aspect. But then these are the real people who carry and who convey the message, what as our organization, what we want to convey, and what we mean. How we take our customers seriously, that this is the best way of doing that. Yeah. So okay, that's good. So now let's go to the next level of this one, right? So that's about the SLA, right? So the service level agreement. So when we talk about resolving customer queries, right, we talk about SLAs, right? Most often SLAs look impressive. I want to put this question from multiple angles, how do you ensure the SLAs are met? How do you arrive at an SLA given the depth and breadth of queries, right? Because we get questions from a lot of different areas. It's just not one particular segment or a product line or nothing about that, right? It could be anything. And how do you reduce the amount of time customer has to spend with you irrespective of their chosen channels? So because these three, why we want to put together is when we hear from the industry, most often this is one of the thing, the waiting online for a long time, and so they did tell me some SLA they're not meeting. So that's why we thought we'll put all these three together. Yeah.
There is various types of SLAs. As a brand, I have an interaction SLA. That's the moment of truth. When the rubber meets the road, when the call arrives or somebody is chatting with you, what SLA do you deliver? Those SLAs are you able to answer fastest, as much fast as possible? Are you able to understand the query? Are you able to respond to the query? So accessibility SLAs, responsive SLAs, and then resolution is the toughest one, because somebody has reached out to you because of certain whether they had a query or a complaint, something didn't live up to the expectation. Now that's a very complex part, because more often than not, this SLA spans across multiple departments in your principal customers departments. This has three connotations. As a service provider, I can tell you how difficult it is to manage this, because for customer, it's an integrated phase of an enterprise. Let's say you are a broadband provider. Customer doesn't care whether it's talking to a telecaller, you called your voice, you're just talking to that brand. There is a network team behind trying to restore the outage. How do you manage this SLA? Now, this is managed with a very complex ecosystem of applications which binds together different teams, and it's very difficult to achieve. But a lot of organizations have started implementing these, how we call it, work allocation engines, because you need to be able to measure. If you're promised a customer, sir, we understand your problem, the SLA for correcting this is 6 hours. 6 hours is committed. Obviously, somebody has given an SLA that with this kind of problem, 6 hours is something SLA can be. But how do you make it happen? This is where a lot of technology is what we see being deployed. Earlier, it used to be a lot of coordination. Coordination is still there. But recently, we have seen this happening through a lot of technology that is spanning across different ecosystem providers. Now, take a multi-brand retail example. Again, they promise SLA. You went there, you bought, let's say, a refrigerator. The SLA is within 48 hours, the product has to get delivered at your home. Within the next 24 to 48 hours, installation has to happen and a demo. I'm just taking an example, random example of how multi-brand retail works. Now, how do you bind together all this? Earlier, it used to be a little more than a little complex, because there are various ecosystem players. The guy who's delivering is from a different department. The guy who's going to come and demonstrate is actually the original brand which is sold.
Yeah.
But you as a multi-brand provider is managing this SLA. We see this happening through a lot of technology, proactive communication. Sometimes merely the fact that you've informed the customer that something is going to happen is enough to satisfy them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's a lot of calls that come and there's a chase. Even when the call lands up, how reassuring do you do? So we have started seeing this happening through use of technology a lot. And of course, visibility, empowerment, and coordination. This is what I see happening very, very, and visibility has taken another level now. Take another example of food delivery online portals. They are showing you real time where your food is.
Yeah.
That's a level of visibility. And you know what happens? Once this is done in one industry, you start expecting it everywhere where you go.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The expectation is reset at that level. The bar is set higher.
Higher. Yeah.
And that's where the challenges also come, and that's where the great opportunity is also there. Because when you deliver this kind of experience, customer is going to say, look, I could have bought this fridge from somewhere else, but I get better experience here. So I'm going to go back. And that's how you build customer loyalty, through this, visibility, proactiveness, and transparency.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Rajesh.
Just to add to what Rinoo was saying, classic example of integration of systems, right? And I think as a service provider, sometimes it does get challenging for us to tell the client, what sort of detailed, internal follow-ups that we're required to do to get the job done and make it sort of seamless, right? One of our clients, international appliances brand, follows a similar culture of, shop to installation per se. So, and I think the level of integration of the system today, right? There is, 3 people involved. One is the store that's going to deliver the appliance. The second is the person who's the, probably electrician who's going to go and install and fit, run it, give it a demo. And in certain stages, there is a skill level of a carpenter that is involved, right, into fitting brackets. So there are carpenters who are now using a system, right? There's a level of integration I'm saying. You wouldn't expect this sort to go in, into certain brands or certain products. And this is doable, or certain end users to have that capability or skill set. But the way systems are defined and designed in such simplistic manners, right? So we have carpenters who are using the tool to check their appointment, go to the customer location and, a deemed time. They already know pre-hand what is the requirement, what needs to be fitted, what are the dimensions, what are the tools they're going to need. And at the same time, they're there, they make it happen. Once it's done, they click a picture, upload as per customer, finesse, and, how it was finished, so that there is no ambiguity later on. And there is a customer signature which is taken on the same app and beautifully done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it depends on how well the whole system is put into.
Yes.
Another very important metric I'd like to add, there are some organizations which are very sensitive towards, what they make their customer go through, right, when the customer comes to them. So there is something we track for some of our clients, which is customer effort score, right? The amount of effort, regardless, not you as an organization or a service provider, but the customer had to put in to get to a resolution, right? The number of choices he hit on the IVR, the number of times he had to probably
Yeah.
speak to somebody, number of departments that he bounced, between, all of that gets tracked to figure out, to get to resolution. And their goal is, ideal case scenario, step one should handle everything. Worst case scenario, the thing shouldn't go beyond step customer effort thrice. I'm in step 3. After
Yeah.
that, the customer shouldn't have to go to you. You should keep going back to the customer and get it sorted for.
Yeah.
So it depends on how and what sort of efforts we put in tracking these, monitoring these, measuring these, and the systems we implement to get this, done and make this happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well said. Yeah. So why should customer spend their precious time running behind like, so we should be the one, because it's a problem created by us as a company, as a product, vendor, right? So they should take it upon them and try to find a resolution and get back to the customer. Yeah. That's yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So the next so the continuing for the next step, right? So here, we are talking about a lot of different channels, right? So when you add more channels, right? So you again, the topic is your call is important to us, does not happen only on the voice channel, right? It happens across all channels, right? Like a chat, or different ways of interaction, right? You will have to staff your contact center appropriately and provide agents with the necessary tools to resolve customer queries, right, in the fastest possible time, right? How do you ensure this? Because this is earlier, once it was only voice, now a lot of different channels, right? So how do you handle the situation, making sure all agents are there in all different channels, and how do you go about that?
Well, technology has come a long way. While it has created a lot of channels, similar enablement has also happened at the agent level. Channels are choices. You have to be where your customer is. Gone are the days when products or OEMs or principals could force the use of channel. The ease of convenience of a WhatsApp, every customer wants it. Banks initially were resisting it. Now every bank has WhatsApp. Earlier it was a security threat. Now it is essential. However, because technology has come, there is a lot of enablement with technology as well. For example, earlier it used to be, there is an IVR, but everybody doesn't like IVRs. Badly designed IVRs are a nightmare. So you used to have websites gettohuman.com, right? So you'll find shortcuts how to avoid the IVR and just get to speak to a human. These days, with the bots and the technology, the AI, it's becoming very easy, relatively well, at least the technology part, to scale up the self-service part. Now that helps if your volumes go up across channels. The bots will work I mean, there's a caveat here. A badly designed bot is equally worse, by the way. So design elements are very, very necessary. That's why we focus very much on the design part. The same amount of effort that you spend on training the agent has to be the same amount of effort or a little more designing your bot. AI can wreak havoc with your experience or give stellar experience depending on how you design it. Same thing with humans. With agents also, if you don't train your agents properly, they will also not be able to deliver the same better experience that you're expecting. But the good part is technology is now enabling across channels. So the bots are available on WhatsApp, the bots are available on, even on your IVR, the bots are available on your web, and that helps. That is the self-service part. Now, self-service can't handle everything. On the other side, agents also have to get enabled. There are a lot of technologies. CRM was I mean, the world has been using CRM for the last 30, 40 years. That is taken as basic minimum. But CRMs are now becoming intelligent. There are recommendation engines. There are virtual assistants. For example, we give virtual assistants to our agents, which help them in real time give the right advice on how to handle this interaction. Of course, there is a guided path. The old scripting way that was there, right? The scripts have evolved into a conversational interface for the agents, empowering them. It's like a buddy sitting there. In fact, we call that virtual assistant buddy for our agents.
Okay.
And the buddy is really helping in real time, advising the human advisor to handle the customer in a much better way. And then there are levels of empowerment. AI has stepped in. You can listen to the call at the same time. AI can listen and give hints that probably the call is not going in the right direction. This corrective action can be taken. These are recommendations which can be given. So there's a host of different technologies, both at the self-service end and at the agent enabling end, that are now being employed. And frankly, we have deployed this for a few thousand agents, and it works superb. Both on the sales side, where they're trying to do a little bit of cross-sell or upsell, or giving better experience. I mean, you would love as a caller if your call was short, crisp, and to the point where it solves your problem.
Yeah.
And if the buddy can help do that for your advisor, that's what everybody wants.
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
how we are doing most of technologies.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
there are a lot of others which come, but things are evolving.
Yeah. 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 Very nicely explained. Yeah. So so the same technology provided different channels now. The same technology coming to a rescue of how to keep us more efficient and handle a situation. Yeah. 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 Harshdeep.
Yeah, just on a lighter note, right? Just saying that from there was a Shark Tank UK episode I was watching, right, some time back, and there was a company that was selling a product and asking for investment, which would help your customer virtually wait on the IVR while the agent comes online and then pass the call on to you, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, people are doing all sort of stuff. But imagine your customer having to subscribe to that service to get to you, right? Just on a lighter note. But yeah, flip side, right? I mean, when you say technology, I think a lot has evolved over a period of time. Going back to what I had mentioned initially when we started the conversation, right? Like Rinoo said, you need to understand what medium your customer understands or prefers. That's one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can't give him one medium and say, oh, he likes this, because you're not giving him a choice, right? So you have to give him multiple mediums, of course,
Yeah.
and depending on where your customer is, right? And what they prefer, what tier, how they respond to you. Second aspect is, I think human aspect we were talking about like sometime back, the hotel check-in experience.
Yeah.
That's what a human can do beautifully. Yeah, at today's date. I think he can be an advocate. He can really help, bounce your customer's experience around and give him that something special, so that he stays with you. This is something in today's day and age, AI is probably not capable of doing. What AI is able to do is simplify your customer's journey, of course. And yes, if we can do that, great. I think a mix of these two things, right? What we need to do is train our people, I think, to handle the worst case scenarios like the bad hotel check-in, right?
Yeah.
And enable them to handle that stuff for us because nobody else is going to be able to do that. That's the time when somebody wants to really talk to a manager or somebody who's empowered and can, deal with them in the right direction.
Yeah.
Basics, I don't think anybody wants to spend that time, right, with you. They don't care whether you're a human. Very few people individually still want to go, press that option on the IVR that takes them to a human being right
Yeah.
now. They're okay if work, is getting done through an app or I don't even think people want to go to a website anymore. But just a mobile app, probably works for them. Like the food delivery app example that Rinoo was giving a while back. Right. You don't have to talk to anybody. You don't have to, do anything. You choose what you want. You click on a button, you pay, and you know exactly where it is, exactly when it's coming. And the
Yeah.
customer's real happy, right?
Yeah.
Um, Similarly, I think if that works for you, and if that's the level of integration and technology you can bring in, great. If you cannot, I think we must. The goal for every, I think, the service provider and the client and the customer is to bridge that gap with the customer just to ensure he gets what he wants.
Yeah.
We should keep our brainiest, or I think the most priceless asset, which today is a human being, to handle the toughest of the situations, I think, right? And let tech do the easy part. Because that's what tech is, capable of, making life easy. On the click of
Yeah.
a button, choice a few IVRs, voice bots are available that can send you your statements right away, maybe do a small transaction for you, right? What's key, yes, of course, is for the agent, like we discussed earlier, is an empowered tool which gives them access to the customer's journey, the extent he uses, your services or your product, what he's been spending with you, how many multiple mediums has he been using, how many
Using.
times is he on WhatsApp, how many times is he on your mobile app, does he really get to your website, if he gets to your website, when does he do that, does he write to you? I think gone are the days. I don't even, there are still some very small processes which do run email campaigns and queues today. But who writes to you and when? I think it's important. Getting to an email today, I think, is actually painful.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
ask my opinion, if you're
Yeah.
making our customers do that, I think we really need to see why we're making them do that and probably eradicate that scenario. But
Yeah.
yeah, synergy at its best, I think, what we need to do
Okay.
is my view.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Harshdeep. So we'll, with that one, we will come to the last final discussion point, like, where we are going to ask you to share any live case study or an example that where you as a brand have provided the best possible customer experience without customers going through any frustration experiences, using the technology or empowering the agent, or it could be anything. Just if you could share one example, and then we'll then roll on to the question and answers section here.
Well, there are many actually. Technology we have deployed in multiple places, but I'll take a very simple example. Look at, if you ever try to take a loan, it's a very complex process, right?
Yeah.
So first you're trying to see what loan do you want. You have a want, but you don't know which one is best. Second is you have to go through eligibility. Are you eligible to get that? And then third, the journey itself of providing information for you to be able to avail that loan. And I'm not talking about consumer durables, which are like, these days they have become very straightforward. Uh, Now financial institutions have started easing that at all. And I will not name the financial institution, but they've just said, forget my website, forget my app also, forget everything. Just come on WhatsApp and initiate a loan process, and in a given fixed time, I'll disburse the loan. How much more easy can it get?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that's the power of technology of simplification. How do you simplify a complex product process into as simple as an interface, a conversational interface on WhatsApp? I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
Similar things we have been doing for our customers. the whole point is simplification. The complexity of under the hood of your processes should not be transferred to customers. And that's what we do. There are numerous examples how we make it very simple. Uh, whether it is a simple process, complex process simplified to 3 clicks. For example, one of the things that we have done for our customer is they used to have a very nice lead generation process. Now you are searching for some product, you find their landing page. The landing page will ask you 3-4 different things, including your phone number and name and email address. It will go into a CRM. CRM is connected to a dialer. A dialer, based on the number of availability of agents, will dial out. Somebody will talk to you. And sometimes this process can get elongated depending on what is a response coming to, let's say, if you were running a campaign. Now imagine how can you short circuit this? If you're searching, forget the landing page, forget the form. There's a single one click, either call me back or initiate on WhatsApp. The whole journey is short circuited. You as a customer is very happy because you don't have to fill up a form. You're not waiting for somebody, yet you get what you want. What you wanted was quickly talk to an advisor who can guide you and conclude that transaction, what you're looking for. And if possible, in an asynchronous way.
Yeah.
What I mean by asynchronous is, let's say I'm on this call. If somebody is trying to call me, I filled up a form, somebody is trying to call me, I'm unlikely to pick up. You'll keep calling me 3-4 times, etc. It won't work. But if you're trying to reach out to me on WhatsApp, once this is over, I'll respond back, conversation resumes, and in 3 clicks, I'm done. This is what we do. This is an example of how we simplify the journey of a customer and yet achieve the intended outcome.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Very good point, actually. Yeah. So hiding all the complexity under the hood and providing the easiest way to experience the product, the best way. Yeah. Harshdeep.
Yeah, just to add on, I think so many case scenarios, but I'll keep one short, simple. So financial institution that we dealt with, right? So mostly, like we said, a lot of it is already automated now, right? You don't really need to get to speaking to somebody or asking somebody what to do. But we want to go a step beyond in this case, right? So like, for example, if you were making an investment, you started everything, you were okay with the interest rate or what return you were going to get, and you initiated process, and probably it's, let's say it's a 5-click setup, and you drop that click 3, right? So what we did is we wait for a fraction of a second. I mean, we waited for a minute, thinking maybe the customer took a pause, walked away from the screen, something of that sort. And if he didn't come back and initiated that process, minute 2, we automated to send that information from the screen to the dialer that this customer was, on step 3, step 4, wherever, but didn't finish. And we just had a simple callback connected to the customer immediately to say, look, just trying to check, you were in the middle of something, you couldn't finish. Did you get an error, or do you need any assistance? Do you need any more information?
Yeah.
If you say no, I just walked away or something, it's just a simple thank you call, right? But if he said, yeah, probably some error popped up, we walk him through, maybe answer a few questions, make sure the transaction's completed. So these are transactions where, you as it is would need minimalistic, thought. Like if you're an investor, you made up your mind and you're doing something, you pretty much end up finishing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how easy you can make stuff for your customers or your clients, I think. And plenty of such scenarios, right, where you want to go back to your customer proactively, then wait for him, to get stuck, maybe wait half a day, or in financial markets, you lose customers pretty quickly, right? So the idea is to get to them as quickly as possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just one example.
Yeah. So that's that's a good thing. Yeah. So yeah, we learned a lot of good things, like, so throughout the discussion, like, so you have highlighted and shared as an example, gave us some insights on how to handle, and, like, what is working, not working, and all that. So with that, let's go to, like, quickly for our audiences, like, if they have any questions, we'll have them, like, go ahead with that. Yeah. So audiences, please feel free, like, either text or like, you should be able to, like, ask questions. So
Yeah, hi. Good evening, all.
yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi. This is Abhijit. So I have one question to both the panelists.
Yeah.
So this is about today. Customers have come to expect a poor service. Perhaps at the enterprise level, they are normally surprised when they are receiving a great service experience. In last 2-3 times, when I had personally contacted customer service across verticals like telco, insurance, and retail, I couldn't speak to an agent. So why is that so? Is it by design or a choice?
Okay.
I'll take a stab, while not naming any industry, but telcos telcos behave differently. See, it's all about segmentation. Which segment have you put in? Depending on the segment that you are in, either you will be given a red carpet treatment or a standard treatment. Standard treatment might not be meeting your expectation. It's all about what the brand has promised you and what you're getting, including on the customer service side. If the brand promises that you are my customer and I'll answer your call within, let's say, 60 seconds, whichever channel you're coming in, interaction, and it is not being upheld, whether it is due to the sizing issue at the call center or the design of the process itself or whatever, then you're probably going to have a slightly less than optimal experience, I will say. But trust me, I have not come across any brand which wants to deliberately deliver this experience. It is happening in spite of their best efforts. Sometimes it is just bad luck that you tried at some time when the volumes were very high. But trust me, in all my career, wherever I have, this is not done deliberately.
Yeah.
Only except in some cases where earlier, and it used to happen long back, that the ARPU was, taking example of telcos, the ARPU was lower, and you probably didn't want every segment of your caller to talk to your contact center. Not for simpler queries which could be answered on IVR. Now, depends on whether the customer is very comfortable with the IVR or not. But yeah, it used to happen. I don't think they're doing it any longer because the technology has evolved to a level where they should be able to handle. But I'm surprised if you are having this consistent experience across sectors. Honestly.
Yeah. I second Rinoo's thought again on that piece. I mean, if it's happening across, I don't think any organization does this intentionally.
Actually.
And yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, I know industries where there are certain periods and peaks of the month or certain days, dates, and timelines. When you try to get to them, I think they would face similar scenarios because it's just that, timeline that they've said that you can do this only during this period. If that's the period you're trying to get to them, yeah, they're in a rush of, volume there.
Yeah.
But intentionally, I don't think any system today, I mean, unheard of, that, it's happening deliberately
Okay.
for that matter.
And there is a reason for that, because see, most of the telcos are aware that you have a choice. Portability is there. They give you bad experience, you'll switch at a drop of a hat, right? You're not bound to them, unlike earlier.
Yeah.
So they're not doing this deliberately.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, Abhijit. So,
Yeah, Uthaman. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from audience?
Yeah, this is Bala here, Bala Ganesh.
Hi.
Hi. So we spoke about response and resolutions, and I see response is always good with many companies, but resolutions are not. What do you think about it? Is it by design, or the SLAs are not properly given, or the SLAs are given only for response, not for resolution? I'm perplexed.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
See, you're right about the resolution part. Not all of the OEMs and brands have worked out the complex chain that is required to deliver a resolution SLA, because there are simply too many moving parts. Some which are digital native have managed to do this. For example, your food delivery apps have mastered this art, right? They are giving you visibility, and there are also a lot of moving parts. So if you order, you know that the restaurant has accepted the order. It's visible. Somebody has picked up, it's visible. Somebody is on its way, it's visible. But not all brands have reached that level of maturity. Some of the old economy companies are still trying to act catch up. They are also trying to do this, by the way, whichever sector they are. If they're in direct consumer sector, they are trying to do that. But you're right, some of the supply chains and some of these value chains are poorly designed. And that is what causes a great response SLA, but a bad resolution SLA.
Yeah. Very true, actually. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
I
for
think
that.
that's answered perfectly.
Yeah. Okay.
I have
Thank
one question, probably, for Rinoo or, this Harshdeep. So, we
Yeah.
hear things like, a new age, this startup, so you can say mainly your fintech startup spending close to, like 758 rupees, just to generate 1 rupee of a revenue. Similarly, how do you assign a number, for a customer service? Or is it just a cost if you assign a revenue number, or what percentage it would be? What do you think for that? Can you throw some light on it?
Yeah, I'm an investor as well. I invest in startups and I know how painful it can be. Growth at any cost, that era
Yeah.
is ending. Nobody wants to spend that kind of money to generate, 1 rupee of revenue. But having said that, ultimately unit economics catches up everywhere. And this is especially true for every sector of the economy. And believe me, it is not a disjointed effort, meaning it's not cost of that call alone that somebody is measuring. They are measuring naturally. I mean, cost of the call is important, but the cost of a bad call is also being measured, because ultimately you end up losing the customer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is measured. It's measured in a different way. It's not correlated with a call, but ultimately somebody is measuring what is the experience, holistic experience that was delivered. It's not only call center, it's a product experience as well. If your car doesn't perform well, no matter how good your call center is, you're still a dissatisfied customer, isn't it? So holistically, this is being measured and then looked upon. Harshdeep may add more angle to it.
No, I think very valid point. And just to add your question per se, ideal scenario, yes, is customer service should not be a cost center, but should be a revenue generating center.
Yeah.
Answer is yes, ideal scenario. But like Rinoo said, right, even if you're in equilibrium, at least it's giving you a whole lot of information and intelligence. What you need for it to work, what's working for your customers, what's not working. So a whole lot of money that an organization spends on market research or doing surveys outside, or understanding where the industry is going, or what your products look like or what they feel like. This is a real life scenario where your customer is coming back to you and telling you information about your product. I mean, you don't need to go out anywhere.
Yeah.
That's another way to look at it also. So don't look at it as a cost or something of that sort. It's either giving you a whole lot of actionable information or intelligence that you can then transform into actionable intelligence and streamline your product, services, systems, synergy, etc., or it's generating revenue for you, right? Both scenarios are not bad scenarios to have.
Absolutely, yeah. So even in one of the example I shared, right, like so the customer calling with not happy about the room, and you are getting him to the another room. So how do you put a cost to it, right? So because here you have a happy customer, and what is the revenue potential for years to come, right? So so that's how we have to look at. It's not just a cost. Yeah. So I see one hand going up. Devanand, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When a feedback is collected either in IVR or in any form, a happy customer will obviously fill that form. Okay, but if the customer is already unhappy, knowing that the customer is unhappy, is it okay to collect a feedback from the customer in any form?
Oh.
If I can pick that,
Sure.
I think it is good to collect feedback from your customer, right? Openness, my view, this is absolutely my view, regardless if he was an irate customer or a good customer, when you're calculating your overall SLA or stats, it's going to average out, right? It's still going to count under how many bad reviews you got, or how many good reviews you got, like promoters or detractors, depends on how you gauge your SLA on this particular aspect. But it's always good, I mean, in all fairness, that's a survey or that's a feedback that must be captured, because that's the mirror right there, right? I mean, if you start ignoring these customers, I mean, your board could be looking at a pretty fancy number at the end of the day. It may not be so
Realistic.
yeah, but it's very good to have all information that you can get to set your systems, processes, or customer experiences right.
Yeah.
That's my view. Of course, if Rinoo has another.
I absolutely echo. You have to capture the feedback, especially imagine a scenario you're not happy with some service product you bought, and you go to the retail store and nobody's listening to you. That's the scenario you're describing. You're already irate, nobody's listening to you. That's not an ideal scenario at all. So definitely capture the feedback, and very important, action taken on that feedback has to be communicated back to the customer to restore that confidence. I think that is one closed loop that a lot of brands probably sometimes get a little slack on that. Not every brand does it, but capture and then go back to customer saying, this is what we have done for you. I'm sure that is a short formula of winning back that customer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very important, right? Like, so in one example, like Domino's, so they had that kind of approach, right? Acknowledging the customer's complaint and say, hey, we messed up and we are listening, and so coming up with that kind of open way of acknowledging the problem and then willing to work. That's the great way of progressing in the right direction. Yeah. Okay, so any other questions? Otherwise,
yes, here.
Yeah.
Good evening to all. And my question is that I keep hearing from multiple experts that they are investing heavily on technology currently, and self-service is the way to go for the customer service. But while this is good to hear, but a lot of customers are preferring to reach a live agent, especially in commodity segment. How do you make it easy and quick for customers to reach agents? Or is it really a huge cost that companies are willing to let their customers wait for a long time and eventually lose them?
Okay.
Probably I can answer that. See, nobody wants to make their customer wait. Making life as frictionless as possible is the mantra. So self-service is not the only aspect. Self-service is one aspect of the entire journey. The emphasis that all brands that we interact with are now looking at is how to make journey or accessibility as frictionless as possible. Now, for routine things, what is being observed is self-service is a great way. If a simple transaction, you don't really want to talk to somebody just to reset your password. I'm just giving a very simple example that is very nicely done through automation. But complex problems, you definitely want to discuss with a human because you are looking for advisory. You're not looking for merely telling somebody I have a problem and he or she routinely answering, yeah, and I'm going to solve it. Now it is solved. That's not the transaction. So the way we are looking at is definitely the investment in technology is going up. Definitely the quotient of self-service is going up. But what we advise to our customers is self-service for the heck of self-service is not the right one. How are you making frictionless journey for your customer is more important.
Yeah.
But honestly, frictionless also means a lot of technology and a lot of self-service. Because let's say you're sitting 11:30 in the night and you're trying to get some answer. You don't want to get on a call. You just want to have 2 or 3 messages, and which is A, channel deflection, B, as much self-service as possible, and you just get your job done, whatever you were looking for. That's the scenario that is being looked upon when we talk about technology being deployed. Of course, humans cannot be replaced.
Yeah, absolutely. We are almost time. So we will take the one last question and then close the session. So Rajshekhar, you have a question? I see a hand.
Yeah. Hi, good evening. So my question is actually, I personally seen one of my friend facing this issue. Rinoo sir and Harshdeep sir, both of question. So most of the time, actually this problem we face from one of the financial sector company. I don't tell that company name here, but so most of the time agents are not provided about the proper information about the customers. Like Uthaman in starting of the call, he said that. So like it could be a training, or it could be a CRM, so kind of infrastructure. So how do we ensure that during the sale or offering the you take any loan, how do you ensure that there is nothing wrong commitments has been done? And obviously nowadays everybody you talk about any loan, they are offering some insurance and all, any other deductions like A, B, C, like that. So once the loans got disbursed and the customer had come to know about that, the deductions are more what they have offered in the sense of what he opted. So when he is trying to reach out to the customer and he simply says, the agent, sir, if you take this loan, so and so and so, there is 100%, it's a fixed deduction is there of part C. If you opted for B, part B, obviously you have to opt for C. Even he don't want to go for the C also. There is nothing related to him to opt for the C part. So he had to face that deductions actually. So how do you explain on this point, sir?
I think classic example we spoke about some time back, right? Just to pick up what you said, one, I think from a customer's perspective and from the agent side. From the agent side, we spoke that there could be a lot of integrations between multiple channels that are used internally from what it was sold to you. To give you an example, realistically, there is a TNC probably that you sign as a customer, right? And there is a validation that should probably happen by the customer as well, which the agent should be able to see that the customer has read everything, acknowledged everything, and then signed, right? In such a scenario, yes, the agent would have some sort of a reference document or link available for him to validate whether that's happened, yes or no. Because I know a lot of clients that we're servicing where, post the sales that has happened, there is a validation call that goes out. In case anything still missed in the validation, there is a e-validation that we get done from the customer, right? Again, so in case he is not satisfied, he still has the option to, dial in or speak to somebody and get his doubts clarified. So one option is probably, these channels should be available to the customer for his safety purpose, because I think a lot of customers don't have the habit of reading fine print, right? Second aspect is maybe if the agent system is available to the advisor of the provider you're calling, if they're not integrated, this information is not available readily. He's not certain whether you've signed the document and whether that document's on record, or whether you've done a validation, yes or no. I think he's going to be uncertain about a whole lot of such aspects even before he commits to you. So what he's going to give you then is what is available on his system, right? From a customer or a business point of view, as in the business who this customer was of, right? Food for thought for them to see what channels and information they make available to both their customer and to their front enders, like the advisor that spoke to the customer, right? A lot of times, some consumers, some businesses want the agent to just handle basics, right? And not give integrated access to various other internal systems, what Rinoo and myself were talking about, right? To get to a resolution, there are multiple internal moving parts that we need to get information from. Most of them are on the client side or on the business side, right? Is how to connect that with this advisor who's speaking to your friend, who is not aware about what deductions or what he could have opted for or what not.
Yeah.
So I think that's a 360 view of all three areas.
Yeah.
If Rinoo wants to add something to that, or Uthaman.
Rinoo, you have anything?
Absolutely, you've covered it actually. These kind of experiences can be avoided, but at the same time, there is a lot of technology that goes into engineering these experiences. Not everybody would have it. Actually.
Yeah. Because agents themselves need not be an expert in a lot of these different issues, right? Unfortunately, it's just not possible to being able to know every single point, like what customer could ask. So we have to have the appropriate technology to enable them to be able to handle the situation. That's critical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thanks. Yeah. So we have already way past our time. So we want to thank Rinoo and Harshdeep for spending almost 2 hours with us today, discussing various different points and sharing your experiences and giving some tips on how to handle how companies are handling it and things like that. So next time, when we hear the message, your call is important to us, please stay online while we transfer you. So we have something to think about. So it's we don't have to get frustrated. So we have some knowledge and the reason behind it, what's going on, and looks like it's going to go in the right way, and the chances of listening to that would become even more less and less going forward with all the new technologies and the right tools in place. So that's the idea that we are getting based on this panel discussion. So with that positive note, so we want to thank Rinoo and Harshdeep for both of you for all your time and taking time from your busy schedule and being with us. And we will look forward to talking to you in different discussion points, in different formats in near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure to connect with you guys. Thank you. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks.